This video is an art-along where I'm designing and painting the Patriotic Eagle scissors. The first segment is 13 minutes long and is a show and tell of the finished design and a discussion of how I plan to stitch the design. It can be ended there if that is all you are interested in seeing. The second segment is a fast forward through the entire design process and a brief discussion of how I completed the project. Hi, this is the show and tell portion of my video for my design for a Patriotic Eagle scissors. I'm doing this for a patriotic challenge in an art group that I'm in, which is called Art for the Creative Mind on Yahoo Groups, but I'm also in a needlework group, and in the past I have designed several scissors designs. I have always wanted to do a colonial series, but I never quite got it done, so I thought, well, this is a perfect time to start. So this portion of the video is just a show and tell of the completed project. I'm just going to kind of talk about it, and then you can stop the video and I go on and do a fast forward through some of the segments where I'm actually creating the design. First, I kind of want to show you, this is a book that I use to kind of work out my projects on paper first. I don't always do that, and I very rarely do it for cross-stitch designs or for needlework designs, because I usually use a charted software called Cross Stitch Pro, but that is packed away, and so I thought I would do it by hand this time. It's amazing how far designing process has come, and when you are used to using software to do it, it's like going from using a calculator to doing everything by hand and in your head again. But anyway, this is a sketch that I did, and it is what it is. It's not perfect. It's just getting something down on paper to kind of illustrate how I want the finished design to look. Here I'm really not happy with the head. I think it looks more like a turkey head, and you'll see over on the other page where I changed that. But I sketched it out in pencil first, and then I painted it, or I actually painted it with markers and did some just kind of fast sketching in here to get something on paper. Then I started charting it out. In this book is graph paper, but it's not really meant for designing needlework. The grids are quite large, but it does give you an opportunity to chart large. Here are the handles of the scissors up here, and in here I start figuring up how many stitches for horizontal and vertical, and start figuring out how I'm going to center this on my fabric and within my design. Over here is where I actually get into charting the eagle, and as you can see here and in this block down here, I changed his beak and the eagle's head so that it looks more like an eagle, and I'm much happier with this. And then I worked on how this feathery design, where I just sketched it in here, would actually work if I started charting it to do a needlework design. I'm quite happy with it. Here again, it is what it is on this book. This book is not intended to design needlework. Up in here, I start counting my stitches again, figuring out how wide it's going to be, how tall it's going to be. And over on this page, I start designing the flag and the stars, which would actually be down in this portion here of the chart. And then after I did all of, and over here I worked up, you know, how wide and how tall the design is, and if I stitch it over to using different counts of fabric and how much fabric that I would need. So just kind of well, it is what you call a figuring book. I like that, figuring book. I found this at Goodwill, but I have used it for several of my projects. Just kind of thumbing through here, playing with stencils and, you know, just playing with different things. So this is kind of like a go-to book for me. Now here is, I wanted to do a painted version and a charted version. Here's the painted version, and you will see on, I'm going to quick flip it like this, you will see on my videos how I actually did this. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I use here on my design, I use what I call these little blueprint marks. Tim Holtz does that on his playing card stamp designs. So I thought I would just kind of do that on this graph paper because it fit. I actually consider this a finished piece of artwork. And up here I put the title, and then I just kind of sketched a little art journal-y like a little box around it. It's called Patriotic Eagle Scissors. Over here I put my name and my copyright and marked out the horizontal center points and the vertical center points and did a little notation in here. So I'm very happy with it. Then off of the video, because it was very time consuming, I did the charted portion. And I don't know how much of this you can see. I'll try to hold it so that you can see it. And when I did this, I did not fill in the symbols or paint it. If I were going to publish this chart or put it out on the internet as a complimentary chart, I would transfer it over to my software design and put the symbols in that way. But I know what colors I want where, and so I'm very happy with that. So this is my finished, this is what I'm going to be submitting for the Patriotic Challenge on AFCTM. I consider this a piece of artwork. I hope to be doing more in this series. Like here I have the eagle. I hope to be doing more colonial designs. And on this size of paper, which is actually 2 pieces of paper that I taped. And I will say a good solution to taping the back of this paper is to use score tape, double-sided score tape, and then I think I went over it with just regular Scotch tape to keep it from. But that held it very, very good. I don't have it quite even here because I was lining up my lines here. But on the next piece, I will have it all lined up. But if I could get several designs like this, this would be one folio in a art journal type thing. So this is, I consider this a finished piece of art. So, but I want to stitch it. So I have my fabrics here. And this fabric is what I'm going to stitch it on. I've had it in my stash forever. And sometimes I buy needlework supplies, like I buy art supplies or art journaling supplies. I'll see it and say, oh, that's cool, I'll use that sometime. Well, I saw this piece of fabric, which is Silk Weavers, and it's called Days Gone By. Now, what a perfect name for this design. But it's Silk Weavers, and it's 28 count, and it's a piece of linen, and it's over-dyed. Now, over-dyed means that it's not just all one color, and I don't want to call it batik because it's not really a batik, but it has some batik-like features in here, in that it's got a bleached out area and some dark areas, and it's a very mottled fabric. But this type of fabric is very popular to stitch on, and it's perfect for this type of colonial design. It has a certain aged look to it. And 28 count even weave means that it has 28 threads to an inch vertically and 28 threads to an inch horizontally. So I won't go into it any more than that, other than to tell you about some of the threads that I chose out of my stash. I went stash shopping to to finish this up. This is to pull what I'm going to use to stitch with. This is the trim that I think I'm going to make an ornament out of it. This is the trim that I'm going to use. It's just some red braid, very, very patriotic. This is the red that will go for the flag. the white, which is called a white. This is a silk floss. This is a cotton over-dyed floss, but it's, well, it's more of a, I guess it's just more of a cotton floss, but it over-dyed in the sense that there might be some shades of white in there, but they're not that evident. I was going to use a darker blue on this, but I found this color, which I think matches this better over here. So I'll probably use a DMC cotton floss for that, and a DMC cotton floss for the stars. I want a gold color. I might have to go to a lighter gold. This might blend into the fabric too much. If I outline it, it'll bring it out. If I do a backstitch outline, it'll bring it out more. And so this will be for the blue, and the gold for the stars right here. I'll just put that there. And then I was pulling some blacks. I found this black crow. I thought I had more than one of those. I've got a midnight, which has got some blue in it, but I don't think I want that. I think I want the black. Black, black, black. Here's what they call a peaked coat. I might use that. On these scissors, it won't matter if I get, the black and the are so similar that if I put, like, say, stitch the shank all in one color, like the black crow and the eagle all in one color, the peak coat, and then maybe stitch the handles in a black, those blacks will the eye will blend them. So I have some other colors here that I pulled, but I probably won't be using these. I just have them because I need them. Here's another black crow right there. So the black crow will probably be the eagle. And then I have my needle. And then this is some fabric I got just recently, which is a Patriotic fabric. It's just a fat quarter. I can't tell you who, because they cut off the salvage end, so I can't tell you who printed this or did it, but I thought that would be a very nice backing for the ornament. It's got the flag and the Liberty Bell, and it says "We the People" on it. So that's what I'm going to do for my project. I'll put this here, and if I can pull this over a little, maybe you can, no, I guess my there you can kind of see them all together, sort of. I don't have a wide angle camera. So this is my overview of my Patriotic scissors designs. I'm very happy with it, and I hope you enjoyed the review of it. If you did, please subscribe to my video, because I probably will be doing more of these types of things. The next segment, I'm going to fast forward through the process of actually designing this bird and painting him. And I chart him offline, but I do get it to the finished page. So thank you for watching. You can end this video at this point if all you wanted to see was an overview of the eagle scissors design. The rest of the video are segments where I fast forward through the process of making the design and discuss it. Okay, I start out with a discussion of things that I'm going to use for this project, my markers and my watercolors. Here I'm showing you a figurine book that I use where I plan out all my projects. It's kind of showing you some of the things I plan out. I have a Canson graph paper pad that I think I'm going to use. I do not end up using this because it's gridded at the wrong point. Show you my water brushes, my paint brushes, and here I'm taping down, thinking that I'm going to use just one side of this graph paper, but that doesn't work out. Here I'm doing what I call my wrist wrap, where I wrap a paper towel around my hands to catch the water when I want to clean my brushes. I'm thinking that I want to do my design on two sides of the paper. One side I'm going to paint it, and the other side I'm going to chart it. I eventually have to enlarge this paper, because the grid is only gridded at 8 blocks and I need it gridded at 10 blocks, so I actually end up using 2 pieces of graph paper and charting out my grid lines. You'll see that later on. So I open up my book here and I start sketching out my design. Start out sketching it with pencil just to get it an idea on paper as to what I'm seeing in my mind of how I want these scissors to look. I go into a little discussion about the curves on the wings of the eagle. That happens right here. It's a little bit harder to represent a curved line in needlework. Now I'm discussing that I only use half stitches and full stitches in my needlework designs. Here I just finished sketching it out, what I'm seeing in my head. I'm drawing out the shank of the scissors and the handles, and sketching out how I want the feathers to look of the eagle. So sketching him out there. Here I'm discussing my scissors designs typically have a long closed shank, and now I'm starting to refine the eagle and sketch him out in ink and color him in ink. So this is just getting on paper a generalized sketch of how I want my design to look. You'll see me paint him later. Here I'm talking about how the scissors will be symmetrical on both sides. I'm finishing him up here, finishing up the design. Here I'm sketching in the flag in the back. Okay, here I'm just showing you what I had done to the sketch. I painted it in a little, then I'm showing you how I started to chart it out. You can see I charted the handles and the scissors. I sketched it all in. I measured out my grids. I had a problem with the eagle head. I thought it looked more like a turkey, so I charted it to look like an eagle. Then I had a problem with the grid paper being 8 blocks and not being large enough. Here I'm starting to paint. I want a painted version on one side and a charted version on the other side, so I sketched it in. You can see I had recharted out my grid blocks in blocks of 10. So I'm putting in the flag, painting in the flag. I'm using my Inktense blocks to paint this out. The flags on the lower part look a little orange, but they are red in real life. That's the way the light is catching it, I believe, on the video. I'm putting in my eagle head, which I'm a lot happier with it looking like an eagle and not a turkey. Had to sharpen my, here I am using the Derwent colored pencil, but I quickly put that down and pick up the block again because I realized that I'm using too much of my watercolor pencil. The ink blocks seem to work a lot better for me. I'm blocking in where the wings and the handle should go with the black. So I'm just working up my painted version, so I have a drawing to work off of on my grid paper. Here I'm putting in the blue and the white stars. Of course, the stars just represent the stars on the flag. It isn't every little star. You see I'm using my wrist wrap to clean my brush. I'm getting a lot of ink on that. Putting in my yellow stars and finishing up the flag. All the stripes on there, working them out. Then I'm playing with some colors for the background, and I decide to go with a brownish sepia on the background, which I think was really a good choice in the end. I start with a base coat, and you'll see I add to that. I layer it as I work. I dried it a little so that I could add more on top of it. Putting in, here I'm starting on a second layer to make it a little bit darker. Drying it a little bit more. You can see on my wrist strap, in this very short segment, I start repainting again. And then I'm outlining everything in black just to give it a lot of definition. Outlining my star. Okay, in this last segment, I'm showing you the finished design. Add a couple touches to it. And then I start to pull off the painter's tape around the edge. And this is one of my favorite parts about doing a journal page, a loose leaf journal page where I tape the edges, because after you get all the tape pulled off, you see this nice, clear, crisp edge border like there. And you can see on my wrist strap all the paint from my painting session, all that would have been on my hands or on my clothes. Just pointing that out. I later pull it off here in a few minutes. There, I pull it off. Okay, now I'm pulling off just the last remnants of my painter's tape. So I have now my completed painted side of my Eagle Scissors chart. Now I'm adding some blueprint lines. I want this to kind of take on the look of Tim Holtz playing cards, where he adds all his little notations and everything. I put in the title, which is Patriotic Eagle Scissors, and then I kind of draw a square around it, and I add my name and the copyright information. And then I just start making some charts about the size and the count of the fabric, and drawing in some sketchy lines just to kind of artsy it up a little, because I do consider this a finished design. I add in the horizontal and the vertical center marks. And I noticed on the back that on the Inktense, not much of that soaked through, and I'm very happy about that. Now I'm showing you the charted version, which I did offline. I sketched it all out in pencil, and I had to count all the little squares and everything, so I charted all that offline. But now I'm removing the painter's tape off of it so you can see both side by side. Now this is really, I'm considering this a finished piece of art. So I'm kind of holding it up so that you can see it. I did not put in the symbols or color on the chart. If I do that, I'll do that on my cross-stitch software. Now I'm just saying if I could stitch it over 2 on 28 count, what size of a design I should have. So there it is, my finished piece.